Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I will be discussing every single trade that went down on deadline day of the trade period. It was a very hectic last day. There were a lot of big deals that went down, a lot of surprising deals that no one really expected to happen that sort of popped up on the final day of the trade period. I'll be discussing who I thought won each and every one of those trades and why. And then in future videos I may go over the entire trade period, like grading every single team's trade period, but for today I'll be focusing just on the deals that happened in the final day of the trade period. And so without further ado, let's get started with that. So the first deal that went down on the last day was Aaron Francis moving from Essendon to Sydney. This was actually Sydney's very first deal of the trade period. Before this, they had completed absolutely no deals, not even any pick swaps of any sort. This was the very first deal Sydney completed. So Sydney got Aaron Francis and pick 42 in exchange for pick 37 and a future 4th round. I don't think anyone really won this trade. I doubt Aaron Francis is going to be getting too many games in Sydney. To be honest, I don't really know why he actually chose Sydney that he wanted to play for. I don't think he'll be getting many games. So this trade confuses me a bit, but I guess at least Sydney did something in the trade period. So the second deal of deadline day involved Melbourne. This kicked off a pretty hectic last day for them. Essendon got Sam Weideman as well as pick 54 and pick 72. In exchange, Melbourne got pick 37. Sam Weideman, he wasn't really getting a whole lot of games in the Melbourne side. They just couldn't really find the right key forward mix, Melbourne. Maybe he will get a few more games at the Essendon side. I don't think he will be a best 22 starter when they have Harry Jones and Peter Wright in that team as their main two key forwards, but I think there's a greater possibility of him getting some game time at that Essendon team. So I think if I had to pick a winner, I'd probably go Essendon. I don't think Melbourne are really losing out on too much, especially seeing Weideman hadn't been playing a lot of games, but I feel like because Essendon also got the 2 draft picks, which were lower down, but they're still draft picks, I think they sort of won this deal just. So the next deal was another one involving Melbourne. Josh Schache made his way from the Bulldogs to the Melbourne Footy Club. Melbourne only had to give up a future 4th round to get him, so they got him pretty cheaply, and because of that I think this is a win-win trade. Wasn't getting any games at the Bulldogs. He played pretty well in the VFL at times, but just couldn't crack the team. May continue to do that at Melbourne, but I feel like he might have a bit of a better chance as they still look for the right key forward mix. So yeah, win-win this one. So another player that made their way to the Melbourne Footy Club without Melbourne having to give up a lot was Lachie Hunter. So this is the 3rd deal in a row involving Melbourne on the final day. They only had to give up a future 3rd round selection to get him. I think this is a win for Melbourne. Could provide them with a bit of wing depth. I think he could. I don't know if he'll make the best 22 again, like I said with Schache, but I think he's definitely a good player. Every time I've seen him play, he seems like a pretty good kick of the footy. Just a pretty good player overall. So I think he could be very handy for them going into the future. Bulldogs didn't get a lot in return, so I think Melbourne win this one. So now for the first big deal of deadline day, arguably one of the biggest names of this season's trade period. It was the reigning best and fairest winner for the Bulldogs, Josh Dunkley, moving from the Bulldogs to the Lions. There was a lot of speculation early on that he'd be joining Port Adelaide as he toured their facilities, but he decided not to request a trade to Port, but rather to Brisbane. So Brisbane got Josh Dunkley as well as a future 3rd and a future 4th round selection, while they had to give up pick 21, a future 1st, a future 2nd and a future 4th to the Bulldogs. I think this is a win for the Lions, obviously. He's the Bulldogs' best and fairest winner this year. I think he's going to be a great contested ball-winning player for the Lions. Really, I think he could be the thing that potentially helps them win a premiership this year. I think that, well, they also got Jack Gutson, but really that's just a bonus when their forward line's already as good as it is. The back line's still not the best, although I think that's less to do with personnel and more to do with just system. So if they can work on their defensive system, then that'll help them win a premiership as well. But Josh Dunkley, I think, will be a great player. He's a great two-way mid, great tackler, great contested ball-winning machine, great goal kicker. So yeah, Dunkley, I think, definitely will be a valuable asset to the Lions, and I think Brisbane definitely won this trade. Now for another fairly big deal of the trade period, was a three-way deal between Collingwood, Geelong and Hawthorn. There was a lot of speculation around Tom Mitchell and Ollie Henry in this trade in particular. Cooper Stevens pretty much came to Hawthorn as compensation for losing Mitchell. So the way the deal worked was Collingwood received Tom Mitchell and a second round pick. Cooper Stevens went to Hawthorn along with 2 third-round picks, 41 and number 50. Geelong received just Ollie Henry. So, look, I think definitely the winners of this trade were Collingwood and Geelong. Hawthorn absolutely lost out. They lost Tom Mitchell and gained Cooper Stevens, which before yesterday I had never even heard of the guy. So yeah, definitely big loss for Hawthorn. So yeah, not a whole lot to say here. It's definitely not as big as the 4-way deal that happened the other day. But yeah, I think winners Collingwood and Geelong, losers definitely Hawthorn. Now for another highly speculated about trade. This was the Dockers giving up Rory Lobb. It seemed like they potentially weren't going to give him up. However, they decided in the end that I guess he wasn't really worth keeping. They had brought in Josh Corbett and Luke Jackson as basically replacements for him. Jai Miss didn't play a lot last year, should be getting more games, so I guess they just decided that they might as well give him up. The Bulldogs wanted him, so they got in return pick 30 and a future second round selection from the Bulldogs. I think this is sort of, to be honest, if anything, I think Fremantle win this. I don't think the Bulldogs really need Rory Lobb. They already have enough key targets up forward. They've got Josh Bruce, who will have an off season to sort of get back to his best form. They have Aaron Norton as well as Sam Darcy. They proved they could use up forward. So yeah, I don't really see that they need Rory Lobb. Fremantle obviously brought in replacements for Rory Lobb. So yeah, I'm going to call this a win for Fremantle, if anything. They got him a bit cheaper. They got rid of him for a bit less than they would have liked initially, but still, I don't think Rory Lobb's really that big of a loss for Freo. And now for the very final deal of deadline day. It was a very unexpected one. I didn't hear about it until the day before deadline day. Yeah, Jaeger O'Meara left Hawthorn for Fremantle. In return, Hawthorn got Lloyd Meek and a future second round selection. Freo also got a future fourth round selection. Definitely winners of this trade are Fremantle. He'll pretty much come in as a replacement for David Mundy, a lot younger, got a lot more years than David Mundy obviously did, retiring. So yeah, big win for Freo. I did not expect this one to happen at all. I don't think anyone did. But yeah, Hawthorn, their midfield stocks are looking very dire now. They did bring in Carl Amon, but he's definitely not an inside mid, unlike Tom Mitchell and Jaeger O'Meara. So yeah, it's probably not looking too good for Hawthorn next year. So anyway guys, that'll wrap up today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Of course, if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. This probably won't be the last trade period video on this channel. I'll likely do one grading every team's trade period. I might just do another one recapping every single trade of the trade period, just do a little brief summary. Yeah, then I don't know if I'll do anything on the draft. I don't know if I have enough knowledge to do anything on the draft, but yeah, if not, then I guess that may well be it for the footy content of the season after all of the trade period stuff is done. But for now, I won't worry about that. Yeah, that'll be it for today's video. As always, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.